It's referendum time. In October 2023, we will be asked to vote on an alteration to the Australian Constitution to recognise the First Peoples of Australia by establishing an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice. That's a serious thing. So let's have a chat about it. Okay, when they first announced the referendum around the voice to Parliament, I'll admit I was not that sure about it. But that uncertainty allowed me to consider the merits of both the yes case and the no case equally, and it was up to them to convince me. So I decided I should educate myself around what it's about from credible sources. I found an article on the ABC website that was very good, and I'll provide a link in the description for that. I also found the government's quick guide on the parliamentary website, and I'll link to that as well. The other valuable resource I found was a book on Audible, written and read by Megan Davis, called Quarterly Essay 90, The Voice of Reason. Now, Megan is an Indigenous woman, a qualified lawyer, and has been actively involved in Indigenous programs and campaigns for decades. Her essay is very well written and brutally descriptive about the things done or promised and not done by various Australian governments over the decades. Well worth a listen. The main resource for this video is the referendum booklet, a 2,000 word assignment for the yes camp and the no camp to give me the most compelling reason to vote your way. It's not been spell checked, grammar checked, fact checked, or sanity checked by the AEC. They just went copy, paste, print 13 million, and now you should have something like this in your letterbox. So it's worth having a look. Now, the quick guide that I found from the Australian Parliament website talks about the Uluru Statement from the Heart and its 3 recommendations: the voice to Parliament, the Treaty or MacArthur Commission, and truth-telling. Now, we're not being asked to vote on all 3, only the first one, voice to Parliament. So how would it work? Now, when the government, this is from that ABC website article. So when the government's asked for details on the voice, it points to a comprehensive report co-authored by Professors Tom Karma and Marsha Langdon. Now, while it may change in the future, this is what the structure that they suggested in that report looks like. They said, basically, the voice would be made up of 2 parts, a local and regional voice and a national voice. So let's go through that and for the national voice first and see what it looks like. So their idea is that the national voice would have 24 members. So it's 2 from each state and territory, that's 16. 5 more from remote communities, 2 more from the Torres Strait Islands, 1 representing Torres Strait Islanders living on the mainland. So there's your 24. There must be a gender balance among the members, and their recommendation was that individuals would serve 4-year terms and only be allowed to serve twice. So you can't just get in there for a career. 2 full-time co-chairs would be elected by the members themselves. The members of the national voice would be elected by the local and regional voices. So let's have a look at how the report envisages these. So its suggestion was that there are 35 local voices representing districts around the country. Each one will be individually designed and run by the communities they represent. This is to reflect the fact that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities are many and varied, and one solution will not fit all of those communities. So the local voices would engage with all levels of government, local, state and federal. Now, they also went on to say about what the voice would not be able to do. It is an advisory body to the Australian Parliament and Government. The voice is only there to provide advice. It would not deliver services, manage government funding, or mediate between Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander organisations. So it's pretty clear on what they are thinking this organisation should do. So, moving on to the pamphlet, the referendum booklet that the AEC distributed. Now, I'm not going to go through the entire thing. I'm going to put my glasses on, so apologies for the reflections that we may get while I try and read some of this stuff. Now, for the vote for yes, the case for yes, now it's fairly simple. on their first page, they say voting yes is about recognition, listening, and better results. All right. It talks about what is the voice. It talks about why we need it, and how the voice will work. In terms of, it's about advice, and about government making better decisions because they're listening to advice. All right. And then it comes down to the next page and talks about 8 key facts. All right, those key facts. The idea comes from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. It recognises First Peoples in our Constitution. It's a committee of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. It gives people a say on issues affecting them. Listening will mean better results and better value for money. I like that because it's my money. I'm a taxpayer. All this funding and stuff is going to come out of my pocket. Representatives from all states and territories, the Torres Strait Islands and remote communities. It will include young people and a balance of men and women, and Parliament and government is still responsible for laws, programs and funding. And it then goes on to expand on all those 8 ideas. It's basically saying what we're doing at the moment isn't working, we need something better. And goes on at length about that. And it's positive and generally well written. I quite like it. 2,000 word assignment, I'll give it an A because it's pretty good. And it's definitive. If this is their quintessential argument for convincing me to vote their way, it's pretty decent. Now, let's go to the case for no. They revolve their entire argument basically around 3 topics. It's risky, it's unknown, and it's divisive. And they go and expand on that at length. There's nothing positive in there at all. There's no definitive argument as to why I should not vote for this. There's no real explanation of how it's risky. It's unknown. Yeah, nobody's done it before, but it's okay to be first. But they don't think so. It's divisive. I don't see it, sorry. Apart from the fact that you're going to vote yes or no. That's about as divisive as it gets, the way you vote. It promotes the fact that the NIAA has $4.3 billion in funding and 1,400 staff. And there are now 11 members and senators in government at the moment. My response to that is, so how's it working out for you? Right? This organisation has got a lot of funding coming out of my pocket as a taxpayer. It's got a lot of people working for it. And obviously it's not cutting it, because otherwise the conference at Uluru would not have put forward a need for the voice. So great that organisation exists, and great to see that it's got a nice, decent piece of funding. But obviously it's not doing what is needed, because otherwise we wouldn't have got the proposal in the first place. So something ain't doing enough. So it goes on at length talking about a lot of negative stuff. It's risky, it's unknown, it's divisive, and there's risks, delays and dysfunction and all this kind of stuff. And it talks about stuff that, and it says we don't have information. Yes, you do. Look on the other page. It tells you how it's going to work, who's going to be in it. There's one here I've got to call out. They say you wouldn't buy a house without inspecting it, or a car, buy a car without test driving it. No, you wouldn't. You absolutely would not. However, what they fail to recognise is the fact that you don't just go looking at houses and cars. You have first made a decision that you need to buy one. And then you go looking at houses. You need to buy a car. Then you go look at them. It's like it is with this. You need to decide that you want the thing before you then go pull it apart, what your actual requirements are. You need to make that first choice. And they don't seem to see that. The last referendum we had in Australia was in the 90s about becoming a republic and leaving the Commonwealth. And the same argument was made then. How's it going to work? The question was asked of the government, how's this republic thing going to work? And the mistake the government made was they answered that question. They said, well, here's a model about how it would work. and everyone lost their mind about the model, and they pulled it apart and debated it and completely lost sight of the original question. They got so bogged down in the debate about the actual mechanics of how the republic would work that they lost sight of the question of, do we want to become a republic? And as a result, the referendum failed. Now, which I can't even remember which way I voted in that one. I personally have no particular stake in it. But I recognise the importance of not losing sight of the question. And then you get to the details after. So, as an English assignment, I graded what the vote for yes was. I gave that an A. The vote for no, I'll give that a D. Sorry, that fails to convince me. There's no compelling reason to vote that way. They push a lot of fear. They push a lot of misinformation, or even correct information that is just used in a bad way. They talk about High Court interpretations of the Constitution, and the government can't challenge that. And says, well, yeah, that's the way that works now. If the High Court makes an interpretation or a ruling on part of the Constitution that's been challenged, the government can't override that. That is in place now. Voting yes doesn't change that. So, they throw in a piece of true information, but they bracket it in such a way that it's meant to be negative and scary. And no, that's how things operate now. So, sorry, you fail. The vote for no, you fail. It's pretty clear to me how I'm going to vote, based if I was just going to use that document as the definitive argument as to which way I should vote on the 14th of October. Now that brings me to the last thing about, and that's voting in the referendum. My absolute one piece of advice is make your vote count. Be clear in what you want, so that when the people doing the counting see your vote, they're absolutely clear on what you want. I'm not going to tell you to vote yes. I'm not going to tell you to vote no. What I am going to tell you is make it clear. All right, you've got to write. You've got one box. You write yes. You write no. It's that simple. If you put something else that the ballot counters can't count as a proper vote, you've wasted your time. You've wasted their time. And if you don't participate properly, you don't have the right to bitch about the outcome, in my view. Even if the people you vote for, in a local election or a federal election, if you don't vote properly, you don't get to complain about the outcome. If the people I vote for get in and make a stupid call and do something I don't like, I wear that because I voted for them. And I get to choose then next time whether I want to vote for them again. And if the people I didn't vote for get in and they do something stupid and I don't agree with what they did, I can factor that into my thinking when I go to vote next time. Do I vote for them again? Do they have a compelling reason next time or not? So the same goes here. Make your vote count. Don't do a donkey vote. Don't do stupid stuff, draw stupid pictures. Don't waste your time doing that. This is an important issue, and you should treat it as such. Even if you want to vote no. If you want to vote no, vote no. All right? Because that's what you're being asked. You're being asked a question, and it's a yes or no question. So voting yes is okay. Voting no is okay. All right? Just do it properly and make it count.
Righto, that's enough about that. You know the drill. Hit the subscribe button and become part of our thriving community. Of course, if you like my videos, give them a big thumbs up and share them if you want, as that helps the channel out. And also hit the bell to get notified when I put up new content. Okay, that's all from me, so stay healthy, keep thinking. As my mum would say, be good, and if you can't be good at it. I'll see you next time.